lot of ridiculous things in this bill. And yes, you can address, no, half the money, Lana, we love you. Half the money is not going to Ukraine, but 50 billion more is going to Ukraine. And Ukraine has already gotten over 100 billion. The United States, what could working people do with 100 billion in this country? Probably a lot, but I digress.
Yeah, let's look at it like this. I'll give you this high level quickie. And it's like 772.5 billion for domestic priorities, 858 billion in defense spending, 40 billion in disaster relief for communities recovering from hurricanes, wildfires, and drought. And then to Lana's point, 45 billion in emergency assistance to Ukraine. Okay. 45 billion out of 1.7 trillion. It's still a lot of money because if you think about what the cost of Medicare for all would be, et cetera. Exactly. Right. Jeff Ginter's got a great comment right there. There is no value of the dollar. Dollar is worth $1 in tax credit. The government guarantees it will take $1 for $1 in tax credit. End of story right there. But what you've got is a situation of the domestic spending isn't really doing anything for regular people at all. Zero, right? And if you look at the defense spending, it just keeps going higher and higher and higher. I think they got another 10% bump in $858 billion in an annual payment to the military. This is not in any way, shape, or form bankrupting our nation. I hate the military. It's in no way, shape, or form bankrupting our nation. It's in no way, shape, or form impacting our ability to provide every child a free student lunch. It's not impacting our ability to give every single human being access free school all the way through PhD if they wanted. There's nothing preventing us from doing absolutely anything, giving people homes. The problem is it always comes down to real resources and production. Do we have the real resources for sale that would meet everybody's needs? Or are we creating a situation where we're going to create scarcity because we've given people money where there isn't production to back that up?
Correct.
That's the key. And there's nothing in this bill that really is for the people. You're not walking out of this bill going, yes, thank God, if they hadn't passed this bill, whatever would I do with my life? That's not what's happening here at all. It's a crap bill. And it shows, quite frankly, how unwilling they are to serve the people. And it's not because they're unwilling to serve just because they're mean and nasty, although they are. It really comes down to an ideological framework, a libertarian ideological framework of hands off the markets, leave the markets be. We'll let them do what they want to do. Let's just grease the skids. Let's spend money into the military because we know all the power players that get that money when we pay it into the economy. We fatten them up. But they do not want us to be free of the business cycle. They do not want us to be able to make decisions for ourselves. So they tighten the screws down on us and they ensure that we're always ready and able and available. Hey, I'll take whatever shit job you'll throw my way. Please, please, please sign me up. I'll do it. I'll drive 3 hours to Walmart for, midnight shift work, whatever. So this bill, I mean, all the funny things that you can point out, and there are plenty in there, all the like jokey mocky things that we can point out and have fun with, they're all in there. I want to be crystal clear. You could have a bunch of stupid things in a bill, a bunch of ridiculous things in a bill, and it would not preclude our ability to provide everyone with health care, to do a Green New Deal.
Right.
It wouldn't prevent any of that. So it's very important that we just totally separate our brain from the idea of tax revenue, paying for this, and actual spending doing its own thing. Spending is its own animal. Taxation's its own animal. And ironically, right before I did this show with you all, I did a show on my own for the Rogue Scholar where I talked about the role of taxation, because even in MMT circles, we've got these really, really brainiac people, very, very smart, the smartest people I know. But the problem is they're sometimes too smart for their own good, and they forget the audience they're talking to. And so as I'm talking to regular people, activists who literally sit there and salivate every time a Bitcoin video comes up or some other jackwad idea comes up, they're like locked in on it, right? These are the people we're talking to. We're not talking to you brainiacs that know how to decipher models and understand math formulas and understand all these highbrow things. We're talking about people that are literally thinking the Jews are like taking over, and that kind of insanity that is prevalent throughout social media world and activist communities, and quite frankly, a lot of your headline YouTubers and alternative media, and even some of your other media out there says this trash. So that's what we're talking about. Unfortunately, it gets muddied up with these very, very highbrow, esoteric, well, let me tell you, actually, they get all professorial and whatnot. And reality is that regular Jane and Joe six-pack tunes out immediately. Everything they say. And I'm trying to be regular Joe, man. I'm ready to talk about smoking weed and talk about federal finance all in the same breath. And I'm still talking above most people's heads. Yeah. And it's not like I'm doing it on purpose. I'm trying desperately to find analogies that help people think through these problems. And I'm just unsuccessful, even though I try to do it.
I don't think you're unsuccessful. I think,
believe me, if you saw what I see.
But I want to say it's very conflating for people, because here you're watching this guy make absolutely reasonable sense regarding what is in this bill. Like Brian Mast, he's just sitting there and he makes sense. And you're sitting there like, yeah, that sounds wasteful. That sounds wasteful. But then he's doing the whole thing about connecting it to everybody's tax dollars. So you can't even listen to one person being reasonable and have it make still kind of align with what is our reality.
And I've spoken, Jen, you remember, was on Tim Pool's podcast. Luke Rudkowski is, he's an anarchist, but he's a libertarian anarchist. And this whole idea about, spending. And it's like, why is there still this massive disconnect between local and state spending versus federal spending? Why do you think that is still such a significant disconnect with so many people?
Because the average person, and with all due respect, including your show, right? Including your show, which you guys are trying. I see the progress. Believe me, I'm like doing cheers every time I see the lights go on. I get excited. But even with you guys, and you guys are trying. So you understand that if you're trying, how many people that aren't even trying, that have large platforms that are pushing this crap out there. The problem is they don't understand the difference between currency issuer and currency user. They don't understand the role of taxation, which is to drive your need for that currency, not for money, that currency. The whole point of the tax is to make you need that currency, right? Once you lock that up, you say currency issuer issues a tax, puts a tax out there, so you have to pay it. Now we've created a loop. We've created a circuit. You need tax money because you have to pay that tax. You need money to pay that tax. So you go and do something, whatever that something is, to get the money to pay that tax. That's the federal government level, right? At the state government level, they don't create money. They are the ones that are waiting for whatever money is coming through the door, whether it be through bank loans, whether it be through foreign purchases, whether bond sales, whatever. They are 100% like a business. They're like you and I. They just have a bigger budget. They just have a bigger bank account. They just have different funding mechanisms. But the federal government creates money. States and local, they have to spend money that the government created or banks created. Either way, they don't have the ability to create it themselves. Fundamental difference. And because we can't even I'm listening to some of my favorite YouTubers out there not understand the role of public banks, not understand that they still have to get money from the federal government to create their loans and stuff. They don't understand that at all, but they're busy telling people that they're going to fund federal style programs with public banks, which once again is complete dereliction of any kind of knowledge base you could have. Just ridiculous impossibility. Yeah. But that's the next thing. It's like he said something I don't like. He gave me a limit that I don't like. So I'm going to just not listen to him. And I'm going to go over here because this guy said, hey, we can do it, even if it's full of shit and it's wrong. And this is the problem. What you said, Peter, is exactly right. Why hasn't it caught on? Because as long as people think that they're smarter and the prophet hath no honor in his own hometown, whatever you want to say, as long as they think we're all sitting at a bar stool just shucking and jiving, talking smack, they're never going to lock in on the fact that the federal government is the currency issuer, the creator. The states and locals are not. They're just like you and I, except they have the ability to buy more bonds, whatever. They have the ability to write laws that create taxes at the local level, but they can't create money. And so one of the biggest things here to finalize Peter's real question is when you see states competing with one another, for jobs, for headquarters, for big business. Amazon, bring your warehouse here. We'll cut the tax base. We'll give you freebies. We'll do whatever it takes to bring you in here. all these companies are looking for what your local and state taxes are, because they don't want to go to a place where they're going to lose money by doing business in your state, by having to pay taxes in your state because you've driven them up. So the race to the bottom with all these states is very real. And because people don't think about currency issuer, currency user, and the point of taxation, they get it all wrapped around the axle and they screw it up. And so that's your story, man. It's complicated, kind of. Not really.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.